Okay, I want to introduce you to Jenn. Jenn is a blogger. She's been a longtime blogger. And your blog is, why don't you tell us the name of your blog, Jenn?
Yep, it's Princess Pinky Girl, and it's been around since 2013, 2014.
This is like 10 years for you.
I know, it's almost my blog anniversary.
Oh, that's great. Are you going to celebrate?
For sure. I don't know how, but if anyone has any ideas for some great recipes to celebrate it, send them my way.
I think you need something with sprinkles.
100%. I mean, that
Oh,
obviously.
yeah, obviously. Princess Pinky Girl can't not have celebratory sprinkles on her blog, right?
Everything's better with sprinkles.
Yeah. So what has it been like for the over the last 10 years? Like how has your blog, like where did it start and how has it grown? What have been some like big moments
Yeah.
for you?
I mean, it started actually with a big Pinterest following. I was one of like the first on Pinterest, and it
Mm.
that made things a little easier for me to get a start. But when I was doing it, I was doing just affiliate marketing on there, now known as influencing. And
Oh, you're an OG influencer
Okay.
then.
So, and then I decided if I'm gonna send traffic to other places, I might as well send it to something my own, and started the
Yeah.
actual blog without really knowing what I was going to blog about or really what a blog was. So my site has evolved over the years. It started up as a lot of roundups and just random stuff from recipes to things I just wanted to talk about, until I realized that food is what sells. Like, food is where the money is. And I'd love to say that cooking is a passion of mine, and making yummy food is a passion of mine, and I do love yummy food, and that is passion. But cooking is not, and baking is not. It's more of I'm really not great at it, and so the niche of my site was, if I can make this, anyone can. And it was
Oh,
easy
okay.
recipes. So
Okay.
um so it wound up, it was a business decision to go towards food. And I think, in terms of what makes, um, and this isn't a blanket statement, but I think that for what makes it, people successful in the blogging industry are people who look at it as a business rather than a passion project.
Oh,
Um,
that's so good. Because
so
that's what the outside world thinks when we think of a food blogger. It's somebody who's doing this as a hobby.
Right, exactly. And you make decisions then based on your likes and the things that you think taste good, or the things that you make for your family, where you have to really look at search volume and keyword difficulty. And I might love this recipe, but nobody's looking for that. And so I could put all these resources behind this recipe. I'm lucky because I have good social, and social, you don't necessarily
Right.
have to worry so much about search volume. But while I'm trying to struggle to get my organic up, I do. So
Right.
the people that I think do the best in this business are the people who look at it as a business. And you can love cooking and still think of it as a business. I just happen to not be the best cook, but still am able to make this into a business because I have the thought process for it.
That's actually really incredible. I think that's a great perspective for people. And I'm still just like, wow, you just assume that every blogger loves to cook and eventually maybe they just get tired of it. But like you said, it's a business, not necessarily a passion project. And if it's if it is both for
If
people,
it's
that's
both,
great.
great. And there are some things that I love, and any of the photographers I work with know how excited I get over like cute food.
Yeah.
If it's like adorable, like I want it, and
Right.
I'm gonna come up with things, that are kitschy or kind of different. And those things I do get excited about, and I would say are more of what got me started down the recipe road, was making cute things out of food.
Yeah.
I melted peppermints into a bowl and it went crazy viral.
Oh
um
yeah, I remember that. Yes.
so there is this place for it in my heart, but it's not like the end all be all as to why I do
Right.
what I do.
Wow. And so your greatest area of contribution, again, and I've explained this in some videos, like within our roadmap, it's like bloggers business, like they're business minded, they're big picture, right? And so when you're like doing things like photography, you're really in the weeds, or developing the recipes, but your greatest area
Mhm.
as the business owner is knowing what kind of recipes, right? The
Mhm.
keywords and the difficulty, and
Yep.
what's going to sell, what your audience loves, right?
Yep.
That is really where your strengths are. And so you're able to then just bring in other people to kind of help fill in those other gaps to keep your blog growing
Well,
and moving
and that's why,
forward.
like, Pretty Focused in particular was really helpful to me, and, kind of game changing, because that was when you guys started, that was kind of the point where I decided I'm not good at photography.
Mm,
Um, I can hold a camera and I can take an okay picture, but I'm not good at it, and I don't have the time, if I want to grow my business, to invest on getting good at it,
right.
and the equipment and the time that it would take me to shoot a recipe, I could be spending on other parts of my business. So I really looked to you guys, that I know that the people in your course who've graduated from your course,
Yeah.
they get it. They know what I'm looking for, and
Yep.
they're trained and they're approved, you know,
Yeah.
how to do
They
a
have the
recipe.
little stamp. Yes.
I've
They get the
watched.
sticker. Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy to get approved.
Yeah.
So, that was really game changing for me when I decided it was time to ramp up my content, and, go from posting, 2 to 3 times a week to 7 days a week. So
Wow. So would you say that hiring pretty focused grads have helped your business grow?
it's one of the things that has helped my business grow. I mean,
Okay.
there's
Yeah, right.
obviously other investments that I've
Yes.
made,
Yes,
but
of
it was,
course.
yes, but hiring out development, recipe development and photography has been game changing for me, and
Okay.
has helped my business get to where it is now.
I love hearing that. I love, of course, it's never just one thing,
Mm-mm.
right? Like there's always multiple different factors, and that all kind of work together to help grow. But it's really great to hear that having a pool of photographers that you can rely on to help fill that need, right? Because that's just one part
It's
of it.
it's
That's
one
just
part
one
it's
part.
one part of it, and it's trying to find really good people for all the different parts. You're looking for a writer, you're looking for someone, I have a blog manager, you're looking for social media people, you're looking for SEO people. And, if you can nail any of those areas, and better yet, if you can nail all of them, it just makes it turn into more of a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. So whenever it comes to developers, do you hire developers?
Yeah.
So tell me, I guess before I get into like the development
Yeah.
part, how do you use photographers, first of all?
So, in two different ways. One for recreations, of
Mhm.
like right now, I'm actually going through all the pictures that I took, or
Yeah.
older pictures, that for posts that didn't maybe do well, but I know the recipe is good and
Mhm.
it has potential. Is having photographers help with the recreations of those, and but more so, I use them for recipe development and photography. So,
Okay.
if I could find someone who fits the bill, and there's some really outstanding people out there, who can do both. If I can't, I'm loving, would love to be able to have a developer that I can then take a tried and true tested recipe to a great photographer, because again, it's hard to find someone who can develop recipes really well and take the pictures.
Mhm.
So that's, to
Yeah.
me, like the star, like the diamond. But if,
Yeah.
otherwise, I have photographers I love who want to just do recipe development, who want to do, recreations. So I would love to be able to have someone who can take my idea, understand what I want, and then take it over to a photographer.
Yeah. Do you ever buy like recipes from shops, like the recipes and photos from other people like
100%.
that?
Yeah, all the time.
So would you use all three? Like you got the person for recreations, you buy content, with, because with the launch of our recipe development course, one of the questions photographers who do exclusive have is like, how is this going to affect my business? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, do you not understand the need of what bloggers have? I mean, could you foresee still buying from shops, but then still hiring a developer at the same
100%.
time?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, without a doubt. For me, the more options that are there, the better, because sometimes when you buy from shops, it's what's in there, and you might be like, I wanted to get a dump cake, but I already have a caramel apple dump cake. I want to go and I want to get a blueberry dump cake, and I
Sure.
want someone to create that for me. I want them to test it and have the recipe. And dump cakes are easy, so that might be a bad
Right.
example. But you get the gist of it,
I totally, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
just more
then
options.
but then I also, I do have some photographers that I work on one-on-one with, and we work together to find recipes for them to make for me. We might develop something, where I might say, okay, I'm looking for this. I want it to use a cake mix because I want it to have a shortcut, or I want it to use rotisserie chicken because I want it to have a shortcut, and I want it to have, this, these types of, other ingredients in it. I want it to be styled like this, and they will come up with the recipe, test it, and then we'll kind of work together going back and forth before they shoot it. So,
Okay.
I do those, I buy from the shops, but I also have some one-on-one relationships with photographers that I actually, just adore.
Yeah, so you would, even on top of that, still bring in a developer for other things? Or would you just, yeah?
Absolutely. I mean, because there's photographers that I love that don't want to do the development of it.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
love their style. And,
Yeah.
that is really I think it would be super helpful for me.
Yeah. I
Because
love
I have
that.
things in my mind that maybe aren't in someone's wheelhouse, but I love their style. And I know they get the way that I want it to be captured. So if I can hand them a developed recipe, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love that you're just like, please give me more options. Like
Yeah.
you're hiring for recreations, you buy from shops, you work one-on-one, and now you're like, yes, I need a developer because there's still more. Like there's always more. Food
There is,
sells,
and
right?
even those developers who could do recipe testing, or
Yes.
recipe tweaking. There's a lot of times and a lot of old recipes that I have that, I may have bought, and I'm like, I get complaints on it, and I'm trying to like troubleshoot what the problem is, and to be able to have someone test it and then give me notes and suggestions as to what is wrong with it and like fix the recipe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, my mom has started testing. Well, does she test for you? I think Marva,
yeah,
she
she's
does test for
she's
you.
tested a couple for me. Yeah, she's great. And what I
And
love is like all the suggestions they give, and like the step by steps, and even the photos that they're taking during it. Like it's super helpful, because I don't have the time to, one, go test it, but two, I don't necessarily have the expertise on how to fix it. So there's these people out there who have been baking their whole life or cooking their whole life, and like, are the passionate people about it, and it can tell you, what the problem here is, the butter that they used or how much they used, and that can fix the recipe right there and get rid of those negative comments.
Yeah.
Which like hurt my soul.
I know, right? I know. So it's like, what I am hearing is that you cannot put limitations on this at all. Of like, well, when you think about like the demand, like people want to know, well, what's the actual demand for photographers, for food bloggers? And I'm like, I mean, I know the demand.
Stuff sells out. I mean,
there is a high demand, and it hasn't slowed down at all.
And I think more and more people are comfortable. At first it was like, you kind of like whispered about it, that are you using like a photographer, or a recipe developer, and you're like, yeah, but don't tell anyone, And now people, again, they're going back to, this is a business, and if you can only spread yourself so thin. So, either take out what's taking you too much time, or take out what you don't love doing.
Right.
and that someone's better than you at what, do. So if it like, I think people are more comfortable with hiring it out now, or purchasing photography, or purchasing recipes. Especially the biggest factor as to people why people don't is because they got burned with recipes. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
that's the reason that they're worried about it, is that it's not going to be a tried and true recipe, or someone faked it.
Right. And a lot of those are from, well, I hope there's never any Pretty Focused grads who have that happen. I know nobody's perfect, but
Of course.
because there's other buy and sell groups out there, do you see a difference in the quality of photographer from like the buyers club versus other buy and sell groups?
100%. I mean, that's all I need to say. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I think at this point I'm pretty exclusive with Pretty Focused sellers.
And you have been since the beginning
Yeah.
too. Like you
I
have been around.
Well, because I love how you guys train people. To me, what like nothing is worse is when you get your images, and you're looking at them and you're like, these don't match what Google wants.
Right.
And sometimes you're buying blindly. You might be, doing a pre-sale or something, or you're trying to get something so fast that you're just clicking on it. We've talked about that a lot, and then you get
Yeah.
it, you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But
Right.
you guys train them on like what types of images we need, the bite shot. Like, to me, the bite shot is the most important shot that you can get, and
Yeah.
I might, like, I've had examples where I've done something, and let's just say and I'm not giving a specific example, I'm just looking at my screen and there's a ball on my,
Right.
like a truffle on my screen. And you get the bite shot, but it's a bite shot just on a plate, right? Instead of a bite shot in a bowl or in a plate with stacked with the finished product with the bite shot. Like, that's what I need as my hero. Is they
Right.
need to see inside, they need to see outside, and they need to be able to taste it from the screen. And you
Yes.
guys teach that, and you teach the hero hacking, and you show, like, the notes that we get from them are so much better than they were. Like, you guys have really taught them well what we need. There's other places where I've bought from where I don't get the serving size, or the cook time, or the chill time, or the total time, or any of that. And we have to go back and ask for it. Um,
Oh, yeah, you can't have a recipe without all of that for sure.
I mean, for years,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me figure out like, we're sitting there trying to decipher the recipe to figure it out.
Yeah, serving size 6 sounds great.
Right, exactly, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah, well, we have people come in and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm already a photographer," or "I've been a photographer." Well, like, they just like, "I have
right.
experience in the photography world, and, I've done food photography before, and can I just get access to the buyers club?" And we tell them, "No, you can't, because we train people and bloggers are coming to us."
Because we have expectations of what we're gonna get.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And, I've even had somebody be like, "Well, I've been working with a blogger for, this amount of time. Can I just buy and get into the buyers club?" And I'm like, she sent me photos and every photo was the same.
Mhm.
Right? It was like 6 photos. They were beautiful, but I
Mhm.
was like, "This is not variety. You
Yeah,
didn't give me, I know what it's great you're working with that blogger,
right.
but big picture, that's not enough."
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm
It's
so
not
I'm so
enough.
glad that you don't just let people in, because, again, for the most part, when I get stuff from a Pretty Focused photographer, I know that I'm going to get the key shots that I need.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes people stray, and sometimes they miss something, and no, that's going to happen. But for the most part, I usually can make it work if I have to, because there's
Yeah.
enough there that I can make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. We are huge on making sure there is big hero variety
Mhm.
in in the recipes that people deliver and the images that they deliver, because we know that you have to have this in order to get people to your blogs. Is one thing we've added to the course this year is like the reader's journey, and really helping photographers understand the reader's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's two different ways. One way is like they're going to Google and they're searching intentionally for a recipe. Usually when
Right.
you go to Google, you know what you're looking for. Like I need chicken recipes or whatever. On social media though, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And so social media, it's usually the late night scrolling, right? And
Right.
you have to be able to stop their scroll. So you really have to meet the demands of both the
Right.
people who are going to Google,
Yeah.
and you have to meet the needs of those who are on social media, on Facebook at 11:59 at night, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
want to get them over to the blog both ways.
100%, because I'm going after both of those audiences.
Yes.
While my social is, outdoes my organic, I'm still trying to get the organic traffic. So if it doesn't meet the needs of Google, it's not going to do me any good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's important to really understand both of those as photographers to make sure that we're providing, you to, so you can provide the readers, because at the end of the day, it's like, it's the readers we're both trying to serve and get their attention, right?
100%.
It's not just like, yes, the photographers have like the bloggers they're trying to serve, but we can't serve bloggers well without understanding the readers first.
Yes, definitely.
So,
Yep.
So what advice do you have for photographers or people who are considering joining Pretty Focused?
I think that like the photographers that I work best with, especially if we are in developing something, or if you're just taking my pictures, my recipe, and photographing it for me, is I try to give as much detail as possible, as to what's in my head and what I'm expecting. Because, that's probably the biggest, like the most disappointments is when I have something in my head of what I'm thinking for, and I get it back and it's like, that did not hit the mark, So I try to be like, answer a lot of questions, and I give a lot of samples of variety of like what is making me think of this recipe, or what do I see in my head with this recipe that I am looking for. And it might be, finding you an inspiration from something that's similar, so you can see like some of the shots I'm looking for. But I would say like, and I tell any photographer I'm working for, and not everyone is like this. Some people are like, just take it and get it back to me. I don't want to talk about it again. I'm like, if you have questions, I would ask me all the questions and I will give you all the answers. Because the worst thing to happen is when you double click on that file and it opens and you're like, no, this is not what I had in mind. And it's happened. And, and photographers have reacted differently. And when I've come back, I very rarely go back. I usually can make something work, but there's some times where I've gone back and I've said, this is not what I had in mind. And sometimes I gave them information and they maybe didn't follow it, or sometimes I didn't. We never had the conversation. We just said, oh, this sounds like a good recipe. Let's do this. And
not realizing you both had different ideas.
Not realizing we both had different ideas. So I think to make sure you're on the same page, ask questions, like have back and forth. Like I am at my photographer's disposal. They can text me, they can message me on Messenger, they can email me. Whatever they want, they can do, because I want to get it right the first time. I never, ever want to go back to someone and be like, this isn't going to work. We have to do something with that. And the rare occasion I have, and the way that a photographer responds to that is really telling to me on, how our relationship is going to move forward, If I will do everything I can do to make a recipe and to give it a go and give it a try. But if I'm coming to you and saying this isn't right, at least for me, that it's something's not right on it, because I don't do it often.
Yeah. So for you, communication is key.
100%.
I think some people whenever it comes to communicating, they don't want to seem like they don't want to ask
bothering,
questions,
or they need right.
Well, like asking questions seems like they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
When it's really the exact opposite. Like I would rather people ask questions than fly blindly and not deliver what's actually needed.
I mean, I
And
just
then
was working with a photographer
yeah,
yesterday, and she had a whole form for me to fill out, and I filled it out, and then she
great.
came back and she asked a couple questions about it, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me. And I knew she was close, but I wanted just to be 100% sure because we're kind of newly working together. Um, that she understood again what the vision was in my head. So I gave her some inspirational photos, not to copy,
Right,
but to
right.
see like again what's in my brain. She asked me a couple more questions and we're good to go.
That's
And
great.
that to me, I mean, if you're like, and I've heard some bloggers who are like, oh my God, this person has so many questions. I'm like, yeah, good. Give her my
Yeah.
name.
Right. Right.
Like,
Yeah. Absolutely, they should ask questions. And
because
so,
I can
yeah,
guarantee you, if you don't, you're going to get more people coming back and saying, this isn't what I had in mind.
yeah, right.
It costs us all
Absolutely.
money.
So, communication and it sounds like integrity is a really big deal, right?
Integrity is a really big deal. Yes. And
Yep.
had issues with that as well in a couple different ways. And, unfortunately, some of those photographers, as much as I like their work, I couldn't work with them anymore.
Mm. Wow.
And I'm sure
Wow.
they feel the same way. I mean, they have the same complaints that, it's a two-way street. We're
Yeah.
both, we both, I'm not dishing out anything that I'm not, providing myself.
Yeah. Right. Right. So, I mean, that's really great advice. I think that, when you're a photographer, you're in a service-based business, like you're here to serve other people. And so it's really important, again, to make sure that you are communicating well so you can serve well and that you have integrity again so you can serve well.
Hmm.
And so that's what I am like just a big proponent of, is just be like, hey, we're here to serve people, right? We're here to serve. And so that's one thing that we push huge from our end too, is not just, hey, let's take great pictures. It's like, hey, let's take great pictures and serve well and have integrity with what we do.
Right.
So
And there's very few that I've had,
yeah,
any kind of issues like that with.
yeah,
But I'd say 95% of the people that I work with, we are on the same page. We communicate wonderfully. If there's been a problem, they've stood by their work, they've made it right.
yeah,
And if I felt like it was something that I didn't communicate, I would never, I would be like, let me pay for a reshoot,
right,
let's
right,
do it
right.
over.
Yeah. How many photographers are you working with?
I mean, it ebbs and flows. Like it depends on,
Sure.
because of, all, photographers' schedules. Sometimes they're working more during the summer, sometimes they're working less. So,
Hmm.
I've got a very small handful of people that I work with on a very regular basis. They are
Okay.
like, they're my tried and trues. They will, there's nothing they can do wrong. I
Right.
know what I'm going to get. I know I'm going to get exactly what I'm looking for from them. They will always like have a place in my heart, and I will like stalk their sites when they put something new up or if they're looking to, to do more work. Um,
Yeah.
and then, then there's like I've stopped doing so many of the one-offs of people because I've gotten burned with a lot of those with, not, and again, this might not, this is from some of the other sites and stuff, but,
Okay.
I don't know if they're pretty focused or not, but I kind of stop with them. And,
When you say the one-offs, do you
like not
mean?
pretty focused people, like
Oh,
they
okay.
have their own
Okay.
groups. I mean, I
Okay.
don't know everyone who's been through pretty focused or not. And some people start their own groups. So, I,
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we have people who, don't graduate
right.
pretty focused and they go off into their own
Right. Or even I think
other groups, and
and there's
that's
pretty
fine.
focused people who don't necessarily consistently post in the pretty focused buyers club because their stuff gets sold so fast.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yep.
but yeah, so there's some people like I literally have on a reoccurring schedule. Like I know the day and time they post on their their stores, and I will sit there and like refresh at that time to like get on there because again, I know they're good, I know they're solid, I know what I'm gonna get.
I love to hear that it ebbs and flows, that you have like that you work with multiple people, because I think again people assume that it's just one photographer to one blogger.
No, I mean, especially because they're also good about doing like for my styling, I think it's easy because I generally do like a pretty neutral style that can be, a lot of people capture well,
Sure.
but
Right.
there's
Right.
also, I watch the Pretty Focused group a lot, the new graduates and stuff, and look at their stuff to see, I can, find people with new potential and have, a good style that would fit my site. So I'm always looking and always open to new people, um, and always hoping,
Yeah.
to find new talent.
Yeah. So I think that's great that you've been in the community hiring people for 5 years and you still take a look at the new grads coming through.
Love the new grads. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's really encouraging for people to hear um, from somebody who's been around for so long. And because in reality, when people ask, what's the demand and is the market oversaturated? We're like, okay, well, there's actually a 10-to-1 ratio of bloggers to photographers.
Mm-hmm.
And 87% of our photographers work with multiple bloggers. So I can't even imagine
Mm-hmm.
what that number is on the blogger side and how many
Right.
bloggers work with multiple photographers. Because
Yeah.
every blogger I've talked to have worked with several photographers. They'll buy
Yeah.
from this shop, but they work one-on-one with here, and they've got recreations going on over here. It's like it's this whole ecosystem people don't even realize exists, I think.
No, 100. Yeah, I totally agree. Yes.
And it's even bigger than what I realize it
Yeah.
is. You know what I mean? Because I don't see like people who are doing recreations, like we don't see their interactions in the buyers club because
Right.
like we just talked to a grad last night and she hasn't posted in 2.5 years because the day she posted, she got clients that she's been working with ever since.
Right.
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 And so there's a lot of that we don't even see happening within the
Mm-hmm.
buyers club.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. Well, Jen, thank you so much for sharing with us, for talking with us, and for giving
Of course.
people a chance to give a little peek inside the blogging community and what is actually possible whenever you enroll and join Pretty Focus. So thanks for joining us today.
I am happy to. If there's any photographers who want to send me previews of their stuff, I will always look.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do.